Hello folks and welcome to Friday's Hi-Fi News, etc. And it's been a while, hasn't it? But we're back folks. And what have we got for you this time around? Well, there's going to be a trivia question. It's been so long since I've done a trivia question. I know, I've said this before, but yeah, it's been a while. Can't get over it, obviously. I have, apart from the trivia, I think it's four news items. I can't remember. You're going to have to count with me. This video has now turned into an episode of Sesame Street. Hey, so count along with me as we do the hi-fi news items. I think there's four. After that, well, I was going to do a hint and tip, but I found two readers' questions which were inextricably linked in a weird way. Well, not a weird way, but linked anyway. So I thought I'd do two viewers' questions instead. And then we'll do the answer to the trivia question, which is... Now, in the last trivia question, we started a theme on fashion and design, and I'm going to carry on with that theme. This week's question is this. It's all about hairstyles. The distinctive hairstyle known as the mullet, which has been sported at different times by, well, everyone from Billy Ray Cyrus to Michael Hutchence, was given its name by which musician? And once more, the distinctive hairstyle known as the mullet, which has been sported at different times by everyone from Billy Ray Cyrus to Michael Hutchence, was given its name by which musician? Check out the end of this video and I will give you the answer. For now though, let's look at Hi-Fi News number one. Now, here's one I completely missed a while back. It's, I suppose, fairly old news, but it's pretty niche news, so you may have missed it too. I wanted just to bring your attention to some high-end tone arms because I think they look interesting. This is just a quickie, just to let you know about these particular designs. And Reed itself has been around since, what, 2007. The arms themselves are certainly sights to behold. There are 5 in all. The news, as it were, is that these designs are now available in the UK via the distributor, the Absolute Sounds. Although they also have a couple of turntables, does Reed, in the stable as well. 3 of the arms, the 1H, which is £3,098, the 2G, 3,498, and the 3P, £4,298. All 3 are radial in design and measure 9.5, 10.5, and 12.5 inches respectively. There's also the 5A at £7,798 and the mighty 5T at £15,500. Both of those are tangential pivot tone arms. The 5T, now why is the 5T so expensive? Partly because it includes a laser to track the arm's lateral motion, and this also has a battery-powered motor to apply correction in real time. Materials, well, fancy materials all over the place. Fancy woods, carbon fibre, you know the kind of thing. As I say, rather expensive, but they look rather nice. We're staying high-end with the next item, and we're looking at a pair of Ellipsis 1512s from a UK company called Stratton Acoustics. Now, the press release for these designs links the look of these speakers to 70s era studio monitors from JBL, the 4350s and also the Tannoy Buckinghams, and you can certainly see the resemblance, can't you? Stratton, however, are not pushing these particular designs as studio workhorses. They're pushing them almost like fine pieces of furniture with elegance and refinery and all that jazz. So what you have here are 250-litre birch plywood enclosures finished to bespoke furniture standards. The Ellipsis 1512s are three-way passive speakers built around two paper-based 380mm bass drivers, a single 300mm paper-based mid-range driver, and a mechanically decoupled 29mm soft dome tweeter with a waveguide. This is an asymmetric design, so the speakers are built in mirror image format. Sensitivity sits around 94 decibels to 98 decibels into 8 ohms, depending on the mid-range and the tweeter EQ settings, and you can mess about with those. There's a plus and minus 2 decibels for the treble and the mid-range units. Now, that high sensitivity means that these speakers are pretty flexible. Now, if I can quote the company itself, when asked what amplifiers can be hooked up to these speakers, it said, and I quote, "Any," which I'm sure you'll agree is a pretty comprehensive and in-depth reply. Price, well, they are a pretty penny. We're looking at £69,000 per pair. More if you want to go crazy on the finishes. There is an optional stand, which I don't have a price for. There's also an optional grill, and I don't have prices for those either. Even so, fascinating looking designs they are, I'm sure you'll agree. For news item number 3, we're coming right down in terms of price. We're going over to Italy and Goldnote, which has a cartridge called the Vasari Shibata. Now, this is a new moving magnet cartridge, and as I say, it's just been announced by the Italian outfit Goldnote. The Vasari Shibata includes, strangely enough, a Shibata stylus hanging off an aluminium cantilever, which is enclosed within a duralumin alloy chassis. Now, I'd be interested in hearing this particular one because my Goldring 1042 also uses a Shibata stylus tip, and that sounds rather wonderful. So, be intrigued to hear this particular one. A bit more expensive than the Goldring, but even so. How expensive? Well, I have a euro price only for this one, €690, and this cartridge, as a by the way, demands a 2-gram tracking weight. And finally, for our 4th news item, and if this was an episode of Sesame Street, I would say now that this particular video is brought to you by the number 4. We're looking at a flagship AV channel amp from Onkyo, and we're looking specifically at the TX-RZ70. This is an 11.2 140 watt AVR packed with HDMI 2.1, 8K 4K resolution. There's an ESS Saber DAC somewhere inside the massive metal chassis, and it works with smart home assistants like Alexa, Hey Google, and Siri. It's Roon ready, Bluetooth is in there, aptX, I believe. It supports THX and all kinds of other acronyms. There's all kinds, there's too many to list. Price, well, I have two. I have a pound price of €3,099, or in euros, €3,299. This little box is out now. That's your news. Let's look at viewer questions. First up, we have a cartridge question from Blue Jack 100. Hello, Blue Jack 100, who has been watching my cartridge upgrade buyer's guide video. Now, Blue Jack 100 says, great video. Well, thank you very much. I have an Audio Technical. I think Blue Jack 100 has been mugged by his spell checker there, but let's carry on. AT120E, which is a cartridge, of course, on a dual 721 turntable. The AT120E isn't available anymore. What would be a good upgrade from that to consider? Thanks. Now, in case you're not familiar with the AT120E, it was priced, at least in dollar terms, about $190. Can't recall what the pound price was. But that was a dual magnet design with a para-toroidal signal generator. This was a real Audio Technica thing. And that was supposed to simplify and reduce the amount of electrical connections inside the chassis. Plus, you get an elliptical stylus. Now, if you want to move on from there, or you want something similar, I would look at the VM530, which is priced around the £150 mark, give or take a tenner. It is also a dual magnet design, also featuring a para-toroidal signal generator, and this also has an elliptical stylus. Now, I have not heard one live, as it were, but colleagues say the design is pretty neutral, maybe slightly smooth, the smooth side of neutral perhaps, but on the whole, pretty balanced. So I hope that helps. And weirdly, oddly, bizarrely, crazily, Casa de Curry 448, so what are we saying here? Curry House 448 has also been watching that same video. Who would have thought? And also has a hot and spicy Audio Technica question. So, hit me with the chilies, Casa. I have an Audio Technica. I assume you mean a turntable. That came with a 95E that I got in December. I think my stylus needs replacing. So I have all kinds of questions about that particular statement, Casa, because if you received that stylus in December, I guess it hasn't worn out yet. So what? I don't know. An accident? The cat, maybe? I'm guessing. Maybe you can tell me. And I'm thinking about an upgrade, but not trying to break the bank. What is a step up from the 95E? Well, Curry House, that depends on the size of that bank. It also depends on the cartridge you received back in December. If you received the AT95E, then you could get an Audio Technica VM95E for £35 or so, which I prefer. If you want a larger jump in quality, then you could look at Audiophile 2M Red for around £95. I'm trying to keep you under the £100 limit here. Or, better still, the Goldring E3 cartridge for basically the same kind of price. They're my recommendations. Again, trying to keep you under the £100. And because of that, I reckon you could afford an extra naan bread. And that's it, folks. But before we go, let's look at that trivia question and let's find an answer for you. Hey, and a quick reminder, the distinctive hairstyle known as the mullet, which has been sported at different times by everyone from Billy Ray Cyrus to Michael Hutchence, was given its name by which musician? And that musician was Mike D of the Beastie Boys. The hairstyle known as the mullet, which even David Bowie succumbed to at one point, was given its name in a piece Mike D wrote for the magazine Grand Royale in 1995, where he talked about mullet-headed people. The Beasties recorded a song entitled Mullet Head. Before then, since the 19th century, the word mullet had been widely used to describe people of limited intelligence. No comment. Anyway, now you know. And that's it for this particular Hi-Fi News, etc. It's good to be back. We'll do another one next week, shall we? Anyway, thank you very much for staying to the end of this video. If I could ask you down below if you could click on the like and subscribe buttons, it would please the socks off me, of course. And further on down, In the description, there are all kinds of links to my social media platforms where I lounge about. And there are things like Instagram. I am on Instagram, you know. And Tumblr. Anyone remember Tumblr? And Pinterest and places like that. Anyway, I'm also on Facebook, and I have a Facebook group, which you're welcome to join. I have my website, which is humongous and has all kinds of stuff you won't find over here. For example, I've got some CD reviews and CD news and some hardware, hi-fi hardware news over there that isn't over here. Just thought I'd mention. My Patreon page. If you could support me on Patreon, it supports this particular channel, it funds it directly, and it keeps it going. So, lots of exclusives over there on Patreon as well. Have a browse, see what you reckon. I'll be back on Sunday, and there will be an interesting review. It'll be a modding review. I'm going to pick a box to mod. There's a new service out, and check it out. I think you might find it intriguing. I'll be back on Sunday, and I want your company. Desperately need your company, because otherwise I get lonely. Hey, hopefully I'll see you then. Until then, bye-bye for now.